Okay, I see that the time has come for the regularly scheduled September meeting of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency. And I'll open this meeting and ask that our secretary start, take the roll.
Commissioner Hopper?
Here.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Commissioner Warwick? Here. Commissioner Aldred?
Here.
And I believe Commissioner Ramirez and Wagner are not with us.
Commissioner Ramirez and Commissioner Wagner are both still recovering from various things, and so we'll excuse them tonight. Mr. Porter is joining us from parts unknown in the wilderness, so we'll hopefully, Jim, delay my responses long enough for you to answer and get the Zoom delay in place, so bear with us. I would ask, as always, before we begin any meeting, if there's anyone has a conflict of interest of anything that is posted on the agenda tonight. Seeing none, I don't believe we have any special presentations. We do have some items and some guests that will speak during the regular business update, so we'll get to that shortly. Is there anyone who, in the public who would like to address any item to the agency tonight outside of the agenda items? Seeing none, that takes us to the consent calendar. I entertain a motion for disposal of this consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Warwick.
I move we adopt the consent calendar as printed.
Been moved to adopt the consent calendar as printed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Aldred. Any discussion? Will the secretary call the roll, please?
Warwick? Yes. Aldred?
Yes.
Hopper?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Okay, the consent calendar has been adopted unanimously. That takes us to old business. And Mr. Jenkins, you were going to give us an update on the economic development activity for the last month or so.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Great to see you all this evening, and happy hello to everyone virtually as well. Just here to provide a couple miscellaneous updates to start. So I'd like to introduce, if I could, our new economic development specialist, Ophelia. She started today, so I just wanted to introduce her formally. She's here in the audience attending, but she was a former workforce consultant with the Idaho Department of Labor. So she's going to provide a critical understanding of workforce within our area, which is essential these days, as I'm sure you're all aware. So I think she'll be a seamless fit to our department and will help us move projects like these forward that I'm about to mention here. So first off, Project East Coast. This is a well-known demo shop. They are looking for opportunities to open in Greater Caldwell. They are finalizing negotiations on a site within the College District. So they have found a location and are moving forward with plans to locate there. Canyon Village Development. This is a mixed-use development. This is a group out of Tampa, Florida. They will be moving forward with plans for commercial along the Cleveland Boulevard corridor and our Cleveland Boulevard and Homedale Road. And they'll also have it to be mixed use, so they have 300 plus luxury apartments as well. So we'll have really strong development out there. We're excited to make that announcement formally here in a few weeks, but they do move forward with plans on that one, which we're excited about. And then moving into Sky Ranch, Hope Electric, they're occupying the Swimming Networks building. This is a group out of Utah. So they just purchased that building, and they're currently occupying the 15,000 square foot building. One of the cool things about this group is that they have already moved forward with an expansion on the building. So they're adding about 2,000 square feet onto the 15,000 that they currently have. They also have 159 employees. So great addition to the Caldwell market. We're excited to welcome them to our community. Project Carbon, this is a California manufacturer. They continue to investigate opportunities here in Caldwell. Received a text from this group about 2 weeks ago that said they're still actively on the hunt, just looking for inventory at this point, trying to find the best location for their needs. Project Imagine, this is the big project that we've been working on for a few months now, more than a few months, but they're still in the hunt. We are very much involved. I've had great correspondence with their site selectors. So we're working with them to solidify the parcels that they have an interest in. Then Project P&W, this is the new one. This is the BVEP lead. They'll be visiting the Caldwell area later this month in September to visit properties. So we're excited about this new project lead that's coming to our area. Project Timber, This is a group that's creating 10 to 15 jobs, and they're gonna occupy a 44,000 square foot facility right next to the Caldwell Industrial Airport. They're gonna be breaking ground later this month. So really excited about that new addition out in the Sky Ranch area. Project Henderson, this is a commerce lead. They're a food processor looking for about 20 to 25 acres. Spoke with the site selector last month about some sites that we submitted. They were very excited about the sites that we presented to them. We had one in North Ranch that they are strongly considering, so they'll be making a decision later this year. Project Patriot, we're still in the running for this project, had some correspondence with the site selector, and they're still considering North Ranch as a possible site for them to locate in the future. Project Fire, this is officially Nemo Arms. They finalized terms on a large building in the Sky Ranch Business Center. They will be bringing about 240 jobs to the Caldwell market. So this is a huge announcement for us, and they'll be occupying a 265,000 square foot facility. Project Pellet, again, I say this each month, we are very, very close to making this grand announcement, but they are finalizing terms, moving forward aggressively on their location. This is a 100,000 square foot retailer that will be moving to the Sky Ranch, North Ranch area. And then, just on that topic, North Ranch, Sky Ranch, there's some dirt moving on the first building out in North Ranch. There's a total of about 4 buildings under construction within Sky Ranch, but we have 1 building under construction now in North Ranch. So we're very excited about that one. That is Seat Concepts. They moved over from Sky Ranch into North Ranch, but their building's under construction now. And then still working with the gentleman that came to us from the Portland area that came with the sports complex concept. We are just trying to understand or recognize an area that just makes the most sense for him to locate. There's obviously with the market being as it is, has been a little bit challenging to find a parcel that really fits everything, but he still wants to get his sports complex off the ground here in Caldwell. And then some downtown updates. The Cleveland Event Center, Venue 711 is great. I won't steal the thunder from Mike Muscle, but he is doing a great job there. It looks like all the retail pads are fully leased, and likewise looks like office space is leased out as well, and then the event center. But I'll let Mike elaborate more on that if he's here tonight. And then Project Start. This is a group that has an upscale lounge concept out of the Ada County area, looking for locations in Caldwell. And then the former 812 Main location in downtown Caldwell is going to become Casa Anejo. This is a new restaurant that will be occupying the space. They bring an upscale Mexican food concept, and they have a bar at their venue as well. And then Project Canyon, I'm working with a local brewery that has plans to locate here in Caldwell. They've been here about 3 times already, very, very interested in downtown Caldwell. This will be a new brew pub that's coming to the area. I'm very excited about their plans and their forthcoming location opportunities here in Caldwell. And then Project Pine, this is another brew pub, but they're out of the Oregon area. It's almost a race to the finish line here with these brew pubs, but we have quite a bit of interest there, which is great. So they're also investigating opportunities to locate here in Caldwell. I visited with them on a few occasions as well. They have taken an interest in RFP opportunities available in downtown Caldwell. And then the RFP for Arthur and Kimball closed today, so I will provide updates at our forthcoming renewal meeting regarding the proposal on that one. And then Project Star, this is a group that has a large building under contract along Main Street in downtown Caldwell. They're a retailer that will be selling olive oils, vinegars, home and kitchen decor, and gift items. And then just a couple project updates. Commissioner Warwick commented last meeting about some updates here, and I wanted to just provide a couple. So Project UGA, this is a former project. This is actually Stella's Ice Cream. They just opened, and this is one that we have been working on for about a year. So I'm happy to see that they actually located here at Caldwell. And then Project Rollout, this is a group that visited Caldwell in May. They made the decision to actually expand in Utah. So this is a project that's no longer considered in the Caldwell market. However, we were one of the finalists, so we have taken all the information that they shared with us and working on improvements and everything that we can to accommodate future projects that are looking in our area. Then I'd like to just transition into our 516 Main Street RFP. As you all are aware, this RFP closed, and we received 4 proposals on this particular RFP. So we're really excited about the reception that we had at this location. So over the past few weeks, we deliberated as staff, just really wanted to understand what was represented in the proposals and what was the best use of public funds to get this project off the ground. So as an overview, we received the 4. Of the 4, there was a wine lounge, which with a bocce ball court involved, and had a tap room concept in it as well. We had a restaurant concept with retail. and then 45 apartments on the upper level. And we also had a family fun center with residential on the upper levels as well. And then lastly, we had a 2-story restaurant with 3 retail units that were involved in the development. So staff reviewed these proposals very carefully, in an effort to ensure we had all the information that was pertinent to making this decision. We invited all the groups out to give presentations on behalf of their proposals. These presentations included the scope of the project, the development team, timeline for development, all the essential items that were tied to the development projects. So, we had 4 city staff members, we had 2 urban renewal commissioners, and we had a community member that participated in these meetings. After contemplating both designs very carefully, or all designs, I should say, staff would like to recommend the Godsteel Company's proposal for this project. The Godsteel Company came forward with a proposal for a restaurant of biscuits and hogs. They also have 2 retail outfits, one being Massive clothing brand that sells outerwear clothing, and then also they have Pure Idaho, which is another retailer that has committed to coming to the site. So with the 2 end users and the 2-story restaurant, we felt it would be a great complementary use to our future Creekside development project, which will include apartments, retail, and a hotel as well. So we took into account all the elements that were tied into both sites in order to make this decision the best that it could be. So we'd like to see this project develop as soon as possible, and with the appropriate construction date outlined within the development agreement. So city staff at this time would like to recommend an exclusive negotiation period with the Godsteel Company. And with that, I stand for any questions you might have regarding that decision.
Any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Robin?
Yeah, just the Godsteel family, are that local, are they the restaurant people from here?
Yes, they are, Commissioner Albert, and they have, other brands under their name, but yes, they are local. Actually, in the presentation that was provided by Biscuits and Hogs, Boomer Godsteel, the owner of the brand, let us know that he was actually born in Caldwell, has a lot of history here and a lot of ties to the community.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Jenkins? Okay, so that looks like that's going to be what goes forward. Mr. Hilty will be working on the agreements that we'll put in place for that operation, and we'll move forward with it. So appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Do you have another update for us?
I do. I'd like to also update you all. As you know, we as staff have been working on a concept, Festival Street in downtown Caldwell really serves as an extension of the plaza into Arthur Street. So we've commissioned Cushing Terrell to help us to construct the plan for how that might look, the design elements of it. They are a group that they have a location here in Caldwell, right downtown, and they understand our community and understand the downtown environment extremely well. I have tonight with us Angela Hansen from Cushing Terrell, and I'd like to pass it on to Angela for her to share some updates on Festival Street, and some elements of design, so that you all understand the full scope of what we're looking to accomplish in that area of downtown. Thank you.
Welcome, Angela. Thank you for sticking us in your schedule today. I know it was a last minute thing, and we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come and update you. As Stephen mentioned, we've been asked to develop further concept and construction drawings for the Arthur Street, Festival Street. And so, as you know, that section of Festival Street goes from the existing Indian Creek Plaza on the east end of it to where Arthur Street terminates at the empty lot and sidewalk or pathway adjacent to Indian Creek, so in that triangular area. What you have on the screen before you is just a site plan that's pulled out of the construction drawing sheet set that we sent over to the city engineer a few weeks ago for consideration. So the elements that are included here, we're carrying on the theme out of the plaza with the brick paving and striations of the sidewalk plaza area. So continued ornamental lighting, pedestrian benches, bicycle racks, and then of course the street trees. bollards, just for, kind of traffic control, in particular, on the left end of the, Festival Street, where Arthur, terminates on the, adjacent property up there. We've, suggested to just install some ornamental bollards there until the connection can be made to the larger development, at Creekside. So, in essence, we're ready to, move forward with, releasing it for construction, given approval from the city at this point. So, with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Hogan.
So, I'm not interpreting that this is line drawing. So 7th Street, is there, are we still gonna be able to deal with traffic turning around from 7th Street, or how does that work with your plan?
Yeah, so at this point, we've not blocked Seventh Street. The way we are interpreting it is that just transitions back down to 7th Street, so it still remains open. Somebody goes down there and needs to turn around, there is room for them to maneuver and make that happen.
But it did not get back out. But it's a turnaround.
I was gonna say, there's not I don't see that.
Any other questions?
Mr. Hopper,
Yes, Mr. Porter.
what is the timeline from the city's point of view on this project? How soon would it like to, initiate?
About 2 months ago. So we're working really fast, to try to get this in place. This design was important for the first step. I know we have some civil engineering work to do, on the city side that we're hoping we can get done within the next 2 months and then get it out to bid right away at the end of that. So we should be able to break ground on this, early spring, I would hope, by the time everything, all the dust settles on it. So that's the plan.
Yeah, and I know this probably goes without saying, but that puts, 3 very big construction projects in a very tightly, defined area, doesn't it?
It does. There'll be some jockeying around. We may have to stage some things differently just to accommodate, what's happening when and in what locations. But at the same time, I think sometimes it works to our benefit because pulling all that together at one time sometimes is the best approach, and you're not, infringing on new construction with continuing construction. So we'll try to make sure we stage that stuff up. I have confidence that Mr. Horton will, get everything going in the right direction and make it happen.
Well, the beauty of it is it's not our responsibility, it's his.
That's right. That's right.
So I applaud the ingenuity and the effort that's gone into this, and you're right, Rob, it's gonna be extremely exciting to, see this all happening at once.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll make it easier for all these projects to tie together and be a cooperative, event rather than 3 different projects, because that's really what we're after, is making everything as homogeneous and seamless as we can. So, all good. Okay, thank you, Angela. I appreciate it very much, and onward and upward. Off we go.
Great, thank you.
All right, Ms. Horton, I think you're next on old business to give us an update on the 213 to 217 structures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So this, I should pull up right here. So this is the buildings owned by the Urban Renewal Agency on Kimball, closest to Main Street. And, one of the questions that, has arisen and well, so is whether the buildings can be separated from the attached ownership of the Norman Jewelers. We want to make sure that that's feasible. So we have a structural engineer who has been contracted, Mr. Steve Cornwell, to investigate and give his opinion about if these can be separated from each other. There's certainly some positive signs that we've talked about in the past. He'll be investigating these inspecting both buildings, both the Urban Renewal building and the Norman building on the 16th, so this week, in order to, gather the information you need to provide us an analysis. So we should, by the next meeting, be able to tell you whether it's feasible with pain and suffering, or feasible without pain and suffering, or infeasible.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jordan. And then we're doing that in conjunction with the RFP development that, we're doing for that site, so that, either way, we're ready to go with an RFP quickly, and, then we'll have options to either, remain in the buildings and keep them going if we have to, or, have new development occur there, so that's the plan going forward. Any questions from the commission? Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Orton. So this is, an action item, our first action item under new business. This is to consider the recommendation from that development team that, Mr. Jenkins presented to us regarding the approval of the request for proposal regarding the property located at 516 Main Street in downtown Caldwell. So we, again, if are there any, concerns or any questions about that? What this really is a decision by the city, to, use these funds, and go ahead with this RFP in this location with that preferred developer, and, it's really, more or less a formality for us to, approve that, recommendation from the city. So is there any concern or any, further questions about it?
I have a question.
Please, Ron.
Mr. Hilty. So is this project similar to the others, and the land value will be determined once the building value is done, that kind of situation, or we?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it'll be based on the reuse appraisal.
That's the word I was trying to think of, but I couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a reuse appraisal situation, and,
Right.
if we go with the Docile, company, they'll get a piece of their ground,
Correct.
and they go from there.
And I can tell you that we're already proceeding with, Bennett Machine has been moving out, and then we will, existing structures will be demolished and the site will be cleared.
Yeah, we're moving forward with plans to demolish that building, as soon as the New Year's holiday is over, right? Shortened, so try to get that, kick-started as quickly as possible. Ms. Warwick.
Mr. Hopper?
Yeah, Ms. Warwick's got the floor, and then I'll go to you, Jim.
You might know the answer to that.
Very good.
Mr. Jenkins. Are any of the other proposals from local folks, or is that the only one that's got local ties?
So yes, this was the one that had the specific, the Caldwell ties, if you will. The other groups were, one was out of Ada County, actually, the rest of them were, so they're outside of our region, if you will. But all have a strong interest in, coming to our area and investing, so. Yeah, but
We have another spot.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Mr. Ward, we want to find a home for all of them. They were all fantastic proposals. So ultimately, that's the goal in our communication with all the groups that were a part of the process. So yeah, if we could find a home for them all, that would be a success in our book.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, they're really, I think I can speak for most of the committee members that there weren't any deficiencies really in any of the proposals. It was just what was most appropriate for that location, for what we're looking for. And I think that was really the deciding factor more than anything else. All of them were good proposals, and all of them have a place somewhere in Caldwell. So that was really what we were most encouraged by, because we'll keep, Mr. Jenkins will keep following up with
I'm
those
sure
other
he
guys. He doesn't let them go easy.
So, Mr. Chair, I have some.
Just Mr. Porter's next, and then we'll jump to you, Mr. Allgood. Go ahead, Mr. Porter.
Yes, I was just gonna make the motion to accept this proposal and, move it up the food chain.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Porter to, accept the proposal and go forward with the RFP.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Warwick. Yeah, Mr. Allgood.
This is just the Bennett lot, or the Bennett lot and the one next to it?
It's both lots.
Both lots.
There is some surface parking involved in the proposal, so, it isn't all development, but, should be a good fit for us.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on the motion? All those in favor then, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, Mr. Porter, I jumped the gun on you, I'm sorry. Your aye was in favor, I trust.
Yes.
Yes, so it was adopted unanimously, thank you. Okay. Now this is, the next action item is to consider the RFP proposal for property located within the Sky Ranch Business Center, with the due date, for submittals by October 15th, 2021. Mr. Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the property that was, formerly going to be developed by McCain. I think, I hope you're all aware at this point that McCain has decided, partly based on COVID and the impact it had on the company, and then we've been waiting on them as a corporation, North American-wide, to review what their plans were going to be for appetizer manufacturing, which is what they had slated for this parcel. And we found out, I think it was probably after our last meeting, that they're not going to develop in Caldwell. So the agreement we had with them provided that if they did not develop, they would sell the property back to the agency for the price they paid. I have all the paperwork ready to move forward on that, and so that'll be happening here in the next coming weeks. Hopefully be done before our next meeting. Staff is moving quickly then to remarket, find another developer for this site. Traditionally, for properties owned by the agency in Sky Ranch, we have not done a full-blown RFP. The code does have requirements for the sale of property by agencies, and that it has to be a competitive process. It has to be open to different proposers, and something competitive on price or bidding. The agency years ago adopted a resolution that sort of allowed for that process to be done under the prospective marketing properties through our economic development team. This is a little bit different, because out of the gate, we had more than one entity that was interested in this site to redevelop. And so, for that reason, it took on a little bit more of the flavor of our downtown properties. So I recommended, and staff agreed, that we probably should proceed with a formal RFP on this site, where we would put together a proposal, tell them what we were looking for, go ahead and advertise it for 30 days prior to closing. So that's the path we're on here. It is a little bit different than what we've done in Sky Ranch, but I think appropriate given the interest in this site and the energy that's been created out there. The site is 20 acres, but we are buying also back from McCain 2 parcels on the south there that Brent is highlighting. They total approximately 3 acres. So it'll be, instead of 20 acres, it'll be approximately 23 acres that will be sold. It's all zoned M1. We're just letting them know we're interested in development that is consistent with the city's M1 zone designation. This will not be sold for reuse appraisal value. It'll be sold for market value. And so we've invited them to bid, and purchase price is one of the factors that will be considered. If you look on page 6 of the draft, you'll see the other factors that we'll consider there: the time for development, the financial capacity to develop. There's an interest in uses based upon job density, which is something we haven't talked about a lot, but when you have, trucking and distribution sites, you have very large buildings built that don't create an awful lot of jobs on site. And so the agency will be looking for higher job density creation. So a factory that's labor intensive creates well-paying jobs. That will be more attractive than something that created fewer jobs. But the specific use, as long as it fits within M1, we're not, we haven't indicated any preference one way or another. Design of the site certainly will be a consideration. And based on really what we're seeing in North Ranch, these industrial sites actually look pretty good. What the sort of the modern standard is, very different from what might have existed in the past. And then obviously the size of the investment. So the larger investment that's made there, you know, the greater impact it has on tax rolls and economic redevelopment in general. That was frankly one of the things that was very attractive about McCain. They were ready to put some major bucks down there, and we're sorry it didn't work out. Because we have to, the statute requires that we have to publish the notice in the newspaper and then hold it open for a minimum of 30 days. We're not likely to meet that, well, we can't meet the October 15th date, so we'll be pushing that back a little bit, probably to the 22nd, which is a Friday, maybe the 25th. It depends on when we can get it published. We've got to have at least that 30-day window out. And then, of course, Stephen has been and will continue to market the property you know, through his normal channels to try to find you know, appropriate users and make them aware that this is becoming coming available. So I think the action tonight is simply to authorize issuance of the RFP. If you have any changes or concerns or questions about it, certainly we can accommodate that. The one change that I know, I think it references 22 acres, and may wind up being advertised as 23, because I think that's closer to what it is with those two lots on the south. And then, of course, we'll change the time for response to make sure we can comply with the statute. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Alden?
Mr. Hilty, do you know who owns the property closest to 2026? If it's between 2026 and this property, is that?
I think it is the guys.
I didn't hear who.
What's the Eisenberg Group?
His name is Craig
Greg Eisenberg. Yeah, or one of his entities.
This is his sub-entity of Thunder, but yes, I think, yeah.
So this property is isolated from the Skyway side. There's not any 2026.
No.
Direct access, no.
Right, no.
Well, I was just thinking of a whole parcel if we could make it work, but.
Well, one of the reasons that McCain, wanted those bottom two pieces was to improve the access to the whole site. So that was another part of that, so they don't have to take direct access off the street. Okay, any other questions, about the RFP or for Mr. Hilty? In that case, I entertain a motion to approve the RFP to go forward with a due date yet to be determined based on the publishing dates and with the correction to the actual acreage in the RFP.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Warwick. Second by Mr. Allgood. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Sounds great, thank you. And the RFP will go forward and look forward to making something finally happen there. Next on our action list is for our treasurer to present the invoices for September. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, you have before you the request to approve your invoices for the month, and those invoices total $530,051.09. They make up the following. It's our, our September payment for economic development of $18,000. Our legal fees, to Mr. Hilty is $6,500. Our BIG payment number 7 to Fresca. BIG payment number 6 to Capital Distributing. Those are both in the amounts of $25,000. Reimbursements to the city for USIC widening costs to date. $430,701.18. Our contract to Mr. Waite for consulting services on the proposed new revenue allocation area of $1,853. And invoice to, I'm going to say this very slowly because I got dyslexic today, to Cushing Terrell of $4,596.91 for Arthur Street plans. Then Valbridge Property Advisors, this is for the reuse appraisal at 7th and Main for $9,900, and then the Canyon County payment for the Fair Expo building of $8,500. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions on the invoices for Ms. Mitchell?
Just one comment.
Mr. Allen.
had an extra zero in the Hamilton, Michaels, and Hilti number there, they're getting a lot more money than.
Oh, good catch.
Other than that, I'm good.
So we will clarify that to be 6,500 for them.
Nice try, Mark, just put that by us. Okay, I entertain a motion then to approve the invoices for September. Moved by Mr. Allgood, second by
Second.
Ms. Warwick. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That takes us to the monthly cash reconciliation reports.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, tonight we have the monthly cash report. We're gonna start in that box as we always do. So total cash on hand is $11,550,770.68. It's made up in three accounts. The LGIC account of $116,617.28. Banner Bank CD of $250,380.49. And then your Banner Bank operating account of $11,183,772.91. The Banner Bank operating account breaks down into the following categories. Restricted for other taxing districts of $8,985,302.14. Restricted for city increment projects, $835,874.40. The TVCC rental income is restricted at $739,560.38. And then our land account at $623,035.99. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions concerning the cash report? I would entertain a motion then to adopt the cash report, approve it.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Warwick, to approve the cash reconciliation report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That takes us then to more of Mr. Hilke's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I'll probably go a little bit out of order and take up Creekside, since we have a couple of guests here.
They've been very patient, haven't they?
They have been. We have Dean Pepe and Chandler Austin Chase here tonight on the Creekside development to give a little bit of an update. And so I'll kind of give the high level and they can talk about some of the details. We got several issues that we're pursuing right now. The kinds of things that go along with the development of the site. We're looking at where to put parking. There's an environmental issue potentially on site that we're monitoring now. Some impact to soil has been discovered. The development of 7th Street, the parking configuration there is something, of course, that they're interested in monitoring. They found a buried Idaho power line that needs to be removed that nobody knew about. So these are issues that I think are probably to be expected on a development of this magnitude at this location. They're not dissimilar from issues that arose during the development of the theater site. In particular, there was impact of soil found there that we had to go back and take care of. They're headed toward design review by the end of the month, I think. They appear to be very actively pursuing their development. Commissioner Warwick, to your point about finding another spot for some of these folks that apply across the street, I think that we might see the Chase reaching out to some of those that would be a good fit for some of their commercial sites on the first floor. So anyway, they've been very active on it. With that, I'll turn it over, I think, to Chandler.
Might need any help on this, but sure either. But yeah, I'm going to notes real quick too. But as Mark had mentioned, there's like those 5 areas of concern right now that we're working through. The soil remediation for soil contamination on the site. We're working with our environmental consultants on that. They have gone back to us a little bit on the soil itself. Under 6 feet or below 6 feet, soil will need to be remediated in some way, shape, or form. They're still working on the report to get back to us with the remediation plan. And then they had to go back out there. They were out on site a couple of weeks ago, and they had to go back out on site to retest the groundwater. They had found some initial contamination in the groundwater, and they needed to be able to identify in our our soils, or is it coming from somewhere else? So they're back on site next week, I believe, and they'll have a forklift, hopefully a couple weeks after that. Parking, as Mark said, we're still working within the function parking. And Mark, I don't know if I'm speaking too much or not, but there's, the parking that has been identified, Union Pacific is the owner on that. And so we're just trying to work between Mark, the city, and then Union Pacific to find a solution for that parking area. There's an easement on site that wasn't identified in the Alpha survey. So there, on the bottom left of our site, there's some power lines that cut our site, and that impacts our building, so we need to find a solution that will be able to do those. One thing I will say on that is Idaho Power, once they're engaged, they're 12 weeks out right now, they have told us, and we have to go back and do some load calculations really quick, to be able to say what kind of load our building's going to have, so that I would say the critical path right now is to find a solution for that and to get them load calculations, they can get going for 12 weeks. There's no build easement that we're confident we can get finished, but that, again, needs to happen before we get permitting, for the project, and then, yes, the streetscape, as Mark mentioned as well. We got to meet with the city on Thursday, and Christian Terrell will be there as well, too, so we can come together on what the plan is for 7th and also Arthur, so we can move forward on designs. Those are kind of the hot topics right now. Don't know if I'm missing anything.
You did it all. I want to reiterate that it's been amazing working in this community, both with your group specifically, the city, and we had a great meeting last week with some business professionals, with some additional insight. We are getting to a critical point in regards to some of these topics not impacting our start date. We're still pushing for that December 1st date as part of our agreement. So some of these things don't kind of check the box pretty quick because they'll impact that start date. Our intention is to really get the civil work started at that December date, with the majority of the work starting after the first year. Just want to make sure that was very clear that we need to really start moving something.
Anything we can do, or any barriers you hit, let us know, we'll do everything we can to get them out of the way.
They can come out. No, everyone again has been working, going down the same way, always have the same goal. I just want to make sure we're clear about what we need to push for. You're involving a couple of utilities that sometimes are a pain, both in terms of, ability and speed of, response, so. All part of the process.
You're living our pain with us a little bit. But thank you for sticking with us, and we'll hopefully hit, our target date, so it's all good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cafe, thank you, Chandler.
All right, on, initially there's two option agreements that are at issue. One is actually a city issue for, property that Rick Wells or his entity owns that's on Albany north of the tracks, outside of the urban renewal area. Just as a quick update there, it's been identified as a potential spot for some storage for Destination Caldwell. They've been, I think, borrowing property from the Jenkins to store some of the equipment that they haul off and on, at the plaza. We're moving forward on that. There's some tanks that have to be removed there. Apparently there's no contamination, but, our Public Works Department's working with Rick on that, to get those tanks removed, and then work with Destination Caldwell on that, the use of that site, at least on a temporary basis. All right, more significantly for the, urban renewal area would be the option on the Relco property at the corner of Lane and Kimball. This has been one where we've had trouble moving forward toward closing and transfer of that to, Mr. Muscle, which was the plan, that it would become dedicated parking for the Cleveland Event Center. We had made the decision, I think that what's going on is that my speculation, I think that there are more complicating factors there regarding the environmental contamination that we knew existed. Rick Wells had made the representation to us when we entered into the option agreement, that he could kind of shepherd that through and get some clearance from IDEQ. I think what's happened is he's found maybe that it's a more complicated scenario than he thought it was. And the work that would be required to do that is much more extensive than what he believed, and Rick is very busy in his private practice, and we just haven't been able to move it forward. We made the decision as a team last week that we were gonna go forward and start to scout out some alternate assistance on trying to deal with this piece of property and seek that clearance from IDEQ, hopefully prior to exercising the option. Our 2-year option period expires in February. So we're moving in that direction to try to find somebody else to help the agency. There will be a cost associated with that, but, we're running out of time, and I think we need to just move it forward. Now, interestingly, the clerk handed me a letter that was received from Rick, today, and it's short, I'll just read it to you. I will likely not be able to meet the agreed upon conditions surrounding the option agreement in the possible purchase of 306 South Kimball, which is this parcel. He's returning one of the option payments, a check that is uncashed. He said, I consider the option agreement no longer in effect as the funds to secure the option are being returned. In an effort to be transparent, I notified the city's legal counsel, Mark Hilty, several months in the past of the desire to exit the agreement. That is true. He told me he was thinking about getting out of it. I did reply to that by telling him that's not how an option works. And he didn't respond to me on that point. I was not able to contact Mayor Nancolis to discuss this matter. If the city desires to discuss alternate conditions in which a new agreement could work for both parties, please let me know. I don't know what's behind this, and I haven't, Rick has been hard for me to communicate with because he's been busy. But I don't know what has brought him to this point. And so I will call him and talk through, where he's at on this issue and what his concerns are. The option agreement secures the right for the agency to purchase the property. It's not something that he can simply refuse to take the money and get out of. That said, I want to find out where he's at. Rick's been a friend of the city for a long time, and trust him, and there's something going on here that just is bothering him obviously as well. And so I want to find out what that is. We at the same time, I think, will be, probably looking for a second opinion, and again, that's not because we don't trust Rick or his ability, it's because, I think this project has not been what he thought it would. I think he's finding things he didn't think he would find, and I don't know that he's got the time to really focus on it. So at least my advice or recommendation is, and I don't think agendized as an action item, but my advice is we find out what's going on with Rick, but we kind of keep pursuing the same path. We can get that property, with a level of comfort regarding the risk that we're assuming by buying a contaminated parcel, get it remediated so that it's no longer a blight, get it into use as we hope that it would be for parking. That would be, I think, the way that at this point I would recommend that the agency continue to pursue it. And then we'll just let you know, sort of how this develops. Any questions on the parking side there?
Lots of questions, but none you can answer.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I really like the idea of the second opinion.
Yeah, and as much, just to be timely, we either have to drop it or move on, and that's, we need to know what direction we're gonna go.
Let's see, I think Stephen mentioned that the RFP submittals, for the Kimball and Arthur site were due today. I know we got at least one. Okay, he stepped out. So we'll be analyzing those, bringing back to you what we have there. See, I don't know if he has anything more to add. If he does, we can maybe jump on my report. With respect to the North Caldwell reallocation area, there's been a bit of a delay finalizing the exact boundaries of that area, and this was done in response to very recent inquiries from potential developers about what property could or should be included when you redo the lines, you have to go back and redo the feasibility study. What is the current tax base? What projects are gonna need to be constructed and so forth. So we're working back through that a little bit. To give you a time frame on it, we anticipate having that finalized, for the city council meeting week from tonight. The first step of the process is to declare the area deteriorated or deteriorating. My office has done the work on that resolution, and we'll present that to the city council, and then that'll kick off the process. I anticipate having a fully formed plan before the city council on October 4th. The agency will see that on its meeting on the 11th, and then it'll go to planning and zoning for comprehensive plan review, and of course to the county for their actions, since a portion of this area lies outside of the limit. We are still on track to be able to form this by the end of the year, which is critical. But we need to be at least somewhat responsive to, what we're hearing from the development community about the parcels that will work for them. So, any questions on, where we're at on the new area?
Is there any danger in not getting it done in this, the calendar year deadline?
What, there's no legal danger, doesn't mean it can't be done. The law provides that your base assessment roll is the value of the properties as of January 1 of the year in which you form the area, the reallocation area. And so if we get it formed this year, before the end of December, then we'll be looking at January 1, 2021 as the values for that base assessment roll. And so it won't make a lot of difference, because we would just be looking at how much property values in the area have increased during 2021. There's certainly been some of that, but it's not the kind of thing that we have seen in recent years where you have dramatic value increases in the existing area based on construction of these, large industrial facilities. So
The growth in recent years has been much more on the residential side.
yeah.
And there's precious little residential in this area, so.
So it's something that is important for us to get done, rather than lose another.
Still would be better if we
Still
get it
better,
done.
but
Has lower base values.
Right, speaking just for myself, we would plug ahead regardless of whether we missed the deadline. I think it's an important area that presents the same kind of promise that we've seen realized, in the existing Sky Ranch area.
Ms. Mitchell, you have something to add? Is Brian still talking to us?
When you're finished, I can add to yours. Okay, thank you, Ms. Schulte. So an update on the feasibility study. Mr. Waite and I and Rob McDonald met last week and worked through some questions that he had. I sent the map to Brian Stender. He filled it out, completed it, sent it back. Mr. Waite had some more questions, so I communicated that back to Mr. Stender. And then just today from Dave Marston, we got this new updated map that has that additional parcel to the north added. So I did send that on to Mr. Waite to include in his feasibility study, as well as to Mr. Stender, who's been out of the office for the last 2 weeks. So we're waiting on them. There is another spreadsheet that Mr. Waite has asked me to work with the county on, and again, we're waiting from them to complete that. And then Mr. Waite and I have started discussing what the budget looks like for the new allocation area, and we'll start working through that during the middle of the audit period. I'll just be living at City Hall.
I'm sorry, I wish we could fix that. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Mitchell or Mr. Hilty on any of those items? We got through it. So, Mr. Jenkins, there was a question about how many proposals were submitted by the deadline today, and we just wondered if you had that number.
Sure, of the groups I was working with, there was somewhat of a split between this RFP and the forthcoming RFP on Kimball Lane. I did receive just one so far, that when I left the office today, at that location. I have yet to review it in detail, but I plan on doing so, when I return to the office tomorrow.
So hopefully it's a good proposal and it's not anything we have a bad decision about, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good, thank you so much. Okay. think we've covered all the items I, could mention. The only thing I would add is that, if you recall, we had our, resolution some time ago to name the, TVCC building, the Mancola Center, in honor of our exiting mayor for all of the vision and all of the guidance he's provided for the development of Caldwell. And, I would have you all add to your calendar that dedication ceremony will be on Friday at 5:00. So we'd love to have you there. Should be a good time. Any other commissioners with any report? All right. If there are no other business before us, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Waldeck. Second by Mr. Allgood. To adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Of course, thank you.
Get back to the campfire now.
All right, thank you, Rob. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.